Commander Hyunwoo stood at the viewing window of Space Station Alpha, watching the sleek alien ship approach through the darkness. The Veltari vessel looked like a silver teardrop against the stars, its surface smooth and perfect. No human ship could move that quietly through space. "Sir, the Veltari ship is requesting permission to dock," said Lieutenant Ji-hai from her control station. "Grant permission," Hyunwoo replied. He had been expecting this visit, though he did not know why the aliens had come. The Veltari had made contact with humans 5 years ago. They were tall, thin beings with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. They spoke perfect English, though they learned it in just a few weeks. Their technology was far beyond anything humans had ever seen, but they were careful about sharing that technology. They always said humans were not ready for their advanced science. They gave humans small gifts sometimes, better computers, improved medical tools, but nothing truly revolutionary. Dr. So-young hurried into the command center, her lab coat still wrinkled from working all night. She was the head of the Human Technology Research Division, the smartest person Hyunwoo knew when it came to alien technology. "What do the Veltari want this time?" she asked, pushing her glasses up her nose. "We will know soon enough," Hyunwoo said. The docking process took 20 minutes. The Veltari ship attached to the station with no sound at all. Their technology was so advanced it seemed like magic. Ambassador Kithara entered the station with 2 guards. She was typical for her species, over 7 feet tall, graceful, and always calm. She carried a metal case that hummed softly. "Commander Hyunwoo," she said in her musical voice. "Dr. So-young, thank you for meeting with us. What brings you here today, Ambassador?" Hyunwoo asked. Kithara placed the case on the meeting table. It was about the size of a briefcase, but made from some kind of metal that seemed to glow from within. "This is a gift for humanity," she said, "from the Veltari Confederation Council." Dr. So-young leaned forward, her eyes bright with curiosity. "What kind of gift?" "That is for you to discover," Kithara replied. "We believe humans are creative, problem solvers. This will test that creativity." She opened the case. Inside was a device about the size of a basketball but shaped like a crystal. It had smooth faces that reflected light in strange ways. Thin lines of silver ran across its surface in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "What does it do?" So-young asked. "That is not for us to explain," the ambassador said. "Discovery is more valuable than instruction." Hyunwoo frowned. The Veltari loved to speak in riddles. "Is this safe?" "Completely safe," Kithara assured. It cannot explode or cause harm, but it may surprise you." Dr. So-young was already reaching for the device, but Hyunwoo caught her wrist. "Let us follow proper procedures first." The ambassador smiled, an expression that looked strange on her alien face. "Of course, we will leave this in your capable hands." After the Veltari left, So-young called her team to the research lab. Engineer Dongmin arrived first, carrying his toolkit and scanner. He was young but brilliant, the kind of person who could fix anything. "What do we have here?" he asked, looking at the crystal device. "A puzzle," So-young replied. "The Veltari want us to figure out what it does." Technician Woo Jin and materials specialist Nari arrived together. They had been working late in the materials lab, trying to understand a new type of metal the Veltari had given them last month. Captain Boram was the last to arrive. She commanded the research ship New Horizon and had more experience with alien technology than anyone else in the human fleet. "Interesting," she said, walking around the device. "It looks like some kind of engine." "An engine?" Dongmin asked. "For what?" "Look at these patterns." Boram pointed to the silver lines. "They remind me of the energy flow patterns we see in their ships." So-young nodded. "I was thinking the same thing. This might be part of their propulsion system." "But why give it to us?" Nari wondered. "They never share their important technology." "Maybe they want to see if we can figure it out," Woo Jin suggested. "Like a test." Captain Boram laughed. "If it is a test, they picked the wrong species to test. Humans do not give up easily." So-young began her initial examination. She used every scanner they had, electromagnetic, quantum, gravitational. The device showed up on all of them, but the readings made no sense. The electromagnetic signature is impossible, she muttered. It is generating fields in 11 dimensions. 11? Dongmin asked. Humans can barely work with 4 dimensions. The quantum readings are even stranger, Wu Jin added. It looks like the device exists in multiple states at the same time. Nari ran her material scanner over the surface. The crystal structure is unlike anything in our databases. It seems to be made of normal matter, but arranged in ways that should not be stable. Should not be stable, but it is, Boram observed. The Veltari love to make impossible things work. They worked through the night taking measurements and readings. The device just sat there looking harmless and beautiful, but the more they studied it, the more questions they had. I think it is some kind of space drive, So Young concluded as the sun rose over Earth below them. But not like anything we understand. How does it work? Dongmin asked. I have no idea, So Young admitted. But I intend to find out. Meanwhile, on a ship hidden behind Earth's moon, Veltari scientist Zeflon watched the human research station through powerful telescopes. He was amused by what he saw. The humans were so predictable. Give them a mystery, and they would work, day and night to solve it. But this mystery would keep them busy for decades, maybe centuries. The device was a quantum-fold warp drive core, the most advanced propulsion technology the Veltari had ever developed. It took their best scientists over 1,000 years to create it. Even if the humans could figure out what it was, they could never understand how it worked. They are scanning it with their primitive instruments, he reported to the Veltari Council. Just as we expected. Good, came the reply from Councillor Vexala. This will keep their curious minds occupied. They will not bother us with requests for more advanced technology while they are busy with this puzzle. Zeflon was not worried. Human science was impressive for such a young species, but they lacked the deep understanding needed for quantum-fold technology. They had not even mastered basic warp drive yet. Asking them to understand quantum folding was like asking a child to understand the mathematics of star formation. Back on the research station, Dr. So Young made a decision that would change everything. We need to open it up, she announced to her team. Open it? Dongmin looked nervous. What if we break it? We are not learning anything from external scans, So Young explained. If we want to understand how it works, we need to see inside. Captain Boram nodded. I agree. The Veltari said it was safe and they gave it to us to figure out. But what if they get angry? Nari asked. This might be very valuable to them. Then they should not have given it to humans, Wu Jin said with a grin. Everyone knows humans. Take things apart. So Young looked at each member of her team. We vote. All in favor of careful disassembly? Every hand went up. Then we begin tomorrow. So Young decided. Get some rest. We will need to be sharp for this. As her team left the lab, So Young stayed behind to study the device one more time. It sat under the bright lights, beautiful and mysterious. The silver lines seemed to pulse gently as if the device had its own heartbeat. What secrets are you hiding? She whispered. The device made no reply, but So Young thought she saw the lines flicker just for a moment. Tomorrow she would begin to find out what the Veltari had really given humanity. She did not know that her decision to open the device would shock the galaxy and change the relationship between humans and aliens forever. The next morning, Commander Hyun Woo visited the lab to check on the team's progress. Are you certain about this, Doctor? He asked. The diplomatic implications could be serious. The Veltari gave us this device to study, So Young replied. They said we were creative problem solvers. Well, this is how humans solve problems. We take things apart and see how they work. Hyun Woo looked at the device, then at the determined faces of the research team. He had learned to trust Dr. So Young's judgment over the years. Very well, he said. But document everything. If this goes wrong, I want a complete record of what happened. It will not go wrong, Captain Boram said confidently. Humans have been taking apart alien technology since we first found it. We always put it back together again. Usually better than before, Dongmin added with a smile. As Hyunwoo left the lab, he wondered what the research team would discover. The Veltari were always mysterious about their technology. Maybe this time, humans would finally learn something important about how their alien friends achieved such impossible things. He had no idea that in just a few days, his research team would not only understand the alien device, but improve upon it in ways that would terrify the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. The age of human technological dependence was about to end, and the age of human technological supremacy was about to begin. Dr. So-young arrived at the lab before dawn, carrying 3 cups of coffee and a bag of pastries. She knew her team would need fuel for what they were about to attempt. Engineer Dong-min was already there, setting up his precision tools on the workbench. He had brought every piece of equipment he owned, laser cutters, molecular scanners, and delicate instruments that could work at the atomic level. Could not sleep either. So-young asked, offering him coffee. Too excited, Dong-min admitted. This is the most advanced alien technology we have ever been allowed to study. Technician Woo-jin arrived next, wheeling in a cart full of electronic equipment. His specialty was understanding how alien devices communicated with each other and their environments. I brought everything we might need, he said. Spectrum analyzers, quantum field detectors, even some experimental sensors from the new physics lab. Materials specialist Nari came in carrying her own collection of tools. Her job would be to identify and catalog every material they found inside the device. The surface scans were interesting, she said, but I want to see what they used for the internal components. Captain Boram was the last to arrive, but she brought the most important thing: official authorization from Commander Hyunwoo to proceed with the disassembly. The commander is nervous about this, she reported, but he trusts us to be careful. So-young looked at her team. They were the best human minds she could ask for, each an expert in their field. If anyone could unlock the secrets of Veltari technology, it would be these people. Remember, she said, we document everything. Every step, every measurement, every observation. If we break something, we need to know exactly how it broke. They began with the most careful examination they had ever attempted. Dongmin used his molecular scanner to map the exact structure of the device's surface. Every silver line, every crystal face, every tiny detail was recorded in perfect 3-dimensional detail. The precision is incredible, he murmured. These patterns are accurate to within a few atoms. Woo-jin tested the device's response to different types of energy. He tried radio waves, microwaves, infrared light, visible light, ultraviolet, and even gamma rays. Most alien devices showed some response to electromagnetic radiation. Nothing, he reported after 2 hours of testing. It is completely inert. Try quantum fields, So-young suggested. Woo-jin switched to his quantum field generator, a device humans had developed only 3 years ago. He started with the lowest possible energy levels. Suddenly, the silver lines on the device began to glow. There, Nari shouted. It is responding. The glow was soft and blue, pulsing gently like a slow heartbeat. As Woo-jin increased the quantum field strength, the pulsing grew faster. Amazing, So-young breathed. It is designed to interact with quantum fields. But what does that mean? Dongmin asked. It means this is more advanced than we thought, Captain Boram said grimly. Humans barely understand quantum fields. The Veltari are using them like we use electricity. They spent the rest of the morning testing different quantum field configurations. The device responded to some patterns and ignored others. Slowly, they began to map out its preferences. It likes spiral patterns, Woo-jin observed. And it responds strongest to fields that change in 11-dimensional space. 11 dimensions again, So-young noted. That keeps coming up with Veltari technology. By afternoon, they felt ready to attempt opening the device. Dongmin had identified what looked like seam lines in the crystal structure, places where the device might come apart without breaking. Start with the smallest possible laser power, So-young instructed. We are trying to open it, not destroy it. Dongmin positioned his laser cutter and began to trace one of the seam lines. The crystal material responded immediately, glowing brighter as the laser touched it. "The laser is not cutting," he reported. "It is unlocking something." As the laser completed its path along the seam, there was a soft click. Part of the device's surface shifted, revealing an opening just large enough for their instruments. "Incredible," Nari whispered. "It was designed to be opened this way." They peered through the opening with their best optical equipment. Inside, the device was even more beautiful than outside. Crystalline structures grew in impossible geometries, connected by threads of light that pulsed in complex patterns. "Those light threads," Captain Boram said. "They look like data connections, but made of pure energy," Wu Jin added. "How is that possible?" So Young began taking measurements through the opening. The readings were even stranger than the external scans had been. The inside of the device seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "I am detecting matter that should not be stable," she reported. "Elements that exist for microseconds in our laboratories, but here they are solid and permanent." "Exotic matter," Dongmin realized. "The Veltari have learned to make exotic matter stable." They worked through the night again, taking turns to rest while the others continued the analysis. The device revealed new mysteries with every measurement they took. "The energy patterns inside are incredibly complex," Wu Jin reported during his midnight shift. "It is like watching the thoughts of a computer made from crystallized space-time." "Crystallized space-time," So Young repeated when she returned from her brief nap. "That might be exactly what it is." Nari had been focusing on the exotic matter components. "I think I understand how they made it stable," she said excitedly. "They are using quantum field fluctuations to lock the matter into a permanent configuration." "Show me," So Young said. Nari pulled up her analysis on the main display screen. "Look at these energy signatures. The exotic matter is not naturally stable. It is being held in place by incredibly precise quantum field manipulations. Like a house of cards held up by tiny invisible hands," Captain Boram observed. "Exactly. And those hands are controlled by the crystal matrix. The entire device is one huge quantum computer, calculating the exact field adjustments needed to keep the exotic matter stable." Dongmin looked up from his own analysis. "If that is true, then this is not just a component of their technology. This is the foundation of everything they do." So Young felt a chill of excitement and fear. "You mean all Veltari technology is based on stabilized exotic matter?" "It would explain everything," Nari said. "Their ships that move without visible propulsion, their energy systems that never seem to run down, their ability to manipulate space and time, and they gave us the key to understanding it all," Wu Jin said in wonder. The team stood in silence for a moment, contemplating what they had discovered. Then Captain Boram laughed. "Do they have any idea what they have done?" she asked. "I do. Not think so," So Young replied. "I think they expected us to spend years just trying to figure out what it was." "How long do you think it would take us to replicate this?" Dongmin asked. So Young considered the question carefully. "The exotic matter synthesis will be the hardest part. But we have particle accelerators that might work. And our quantum computers are already close to the level of precision we would need." "Days?" Captain Boram asked. "Maybe a week," So Young admitted. "If we work around the clock and if our theories are correct." 1 week to replicate technology that took the Veltari 1,000 years to develop? Wu Jin asked. "We have advantages they did not have when they started," Nari pointed out. "We can see the finished product. We know it is possible. And we have human stubbornness." So Young made a decision that would change the course of human history. "We are not just going to replicate it, we are going to improve it." "Improve it?" Dongmin asked. "How can we improve something we barely understand?" "Because we understand it differently than they do," So Young explained. "They think in terms of their mathematics, their physics, their engineering principles. We think like humans. We might see solutions they never considered." The team exchanged glances. They all knew what Dr. So Young was suggesting was ambitious, beyond belief. But they were humans, and humans had been achieving the impossible for their entire history. What do we need to do? Captain Boram asked. First, we completely map the internal structure, So Young said. Every component, every energy pathway, every quantum field interaction. Then we figure out how to build our own version using human technology. And then? Nari asked. So Young smiled. Then we give the Veltari the surprise of their very long lives. Far away on his hidden ship, scientist Zeflon was reviewing the latest reports from his sensors. The humans had been working on the device for 3 days now. His instruments showed they had managed to open it, which was impressive. He had expected that to take them at least a month. They are making faster progress than anticipated, he reported to the council. How much faster? Councillor Vexala asked. They have achieved in 3 days what took our ancestors 50 years. There was a pause in the communication. That is concerning, but they cannot possibly understand what they have found. No, Zeflon agreed. Understanding the quantum fold principles requires mathematical concepts they have not yet discovered. They will eventually give up and ask us for help. Good. Continue monitoring them. Report if anything unusual happens. Zeflon ended the communication and returned to his observations. The humans were still working, still taking measurements, still documenting everything with their typical obsessive attention to detail. He was not. On the 4th day, Dr. So Young made a decision that shocked even her own team. We are going to take it apart completely, she announced at their morning meeting. Engineer Dong Min nearly dropped his coffee. Completely? Are you sure that is wise? External. Analysis has taught us everything it can, So Young explained. We need to see each component separately to understand how they work together. Technician Wu Jin looked nervous. What if we cannot put it back together again? Then we build a better one, Captain Boram said firmly. She had been thinking about this all night. We have detailed scans of every part. We know the exact atomic structure. If we can build it once, we can build it again. Materials specialist. Nari was already setting up her equipment. I want to analyze each material separately. The interaction between components might be hiding important details. So Young nodded. We do this systematically, one component at a time. Document everything before we remove anything. They began with the outer crystal shell. Dongmin had identified 12 separate segments, each one held in place by quantum field interactions, rather than physical connections. It is like a 3-dimensional puzzle, he observed. But instead of pieces that fit together physically, these pieces fit together in higher dimensions. The first segment came free with a soft musical tone. Inside, they could see crystalline structures that seemed to grow into impossible shapes, geometries that hurt to look at directly. My eyes keep trying to focus on parts that are not there, Wu Jin complained. That is because some parts exist in dimensions we cannot see, So Young explained. Our brains are trying to make sense of 11-dimensional objects using 3-dimensional vision. Nari ran her scanners over the removed segment. The crystal structure is based on carbon, but arranged in patterns that should collapse under their own gravity. The quantum fields must be providing structural support. Carbon, Captain Boram repeated thoughtfully. Not some exotic alien element, plain carbon like in human diamonds. But arranged in ways we never thought possible, Dongmin added. They removed the second segment, then the third. Each piece revealed new layers of complexity. The device was not just one machine. It was dozens of interconnected systems, all working together in perfect harmony. Look at this, Wu Jin called out. He had been tracing the energy pathways through the removed segments. The power flow is not linear. It moves in loops that connect to themselves in 11-dimensional space. So Young studied his readings. A self-sustaining energy system. It generates its own power by tapping into the quantum fluctuations of space-time itself. Free energy, Nari breathed. They solved the energy crisis by learning to drink from the universe itself. By the end of the day, they had the device completely disassembled. 47 separate components lay on their workbenches, each one a masterpiece of impossible engineering. Now we reverse engineer each piece, So Young announced. The work that followed was the most intense intellectual effort any of them had ever undertaken. They worked 18-hour days, sleeping in the lab, eating at their workstations. Commander Hyunwoo sent medical staff to check on them twice, worried they would collapse from exhaustion. "We are fine," So-young assured him. "We are just focused." Dongmin tackled the mechanical aspects of each component. His job was to figure out how human manufacturing could create similar structures. "The precision required is incredible," he reported, "but our latest 3D molecular printers might be able to do it. We would need to modify them to work in 11 dimensions, but the basic principle is sound." Wu Jin worked on understanding the control systems. Each component had its own quantum computer, and all of them networked together in ways that made human internet technology look primitive. "They are using quantum entanglement for instant communication," he discovered. "No signal delays, no interference. Each component knows what every other component is doing at exactly the same time." Nari focused on the exotic matter components. These were the key to the entire system. Without stabilized exotic matter, none of the other technology would work. "I think I understand the synthesis process," she announced on the 6th day. "They use controlled particle accelerator collisions, but with quantum field manipulation to stabilize the products before they decay. Can we do that?" So-young asked. "Our particle accelerators are powerful enough," Nari said. "But we would need to modify them with quantum field generators. It will be tricky, but possible." Captain Boram coordinated the overall analysis, trying to understand how all the pieces fit together into one coherent system. "This is not just a propulsion device," she realized. "It is a reality manipulation engine. It does not move through space. It convinces space to move around it." "Convinces?" Dongmin asked. "Watch the quantum field patterns," Boram explained, pointing to Wu Jin's displays. "The device creates a bubble where the laws of physics work differently. Inside the bubble, distance becomes optional." So-young stared at the data. "Space folding. They fold space-time like paper, bringing distant locations together." "But that is not all," Wu Jin added excitedly. "Look at these energy signatures. It is also manipulating probability itself." "Probability?" Nari asked. "The device makes itself more likely to be in one location and less likely to be in another location," Wu Jin explained. "It does not move through space, so it adjusts the probability of where it exists until reality shifts to match." The implications hit them all at once. "They are not just bending space and time," So-young whispered. "They are editing the universe's source code." That night, So-young could not sleep. She walked through the lab, looking at the disassembled components of technology that challenged everything humans thought they knew about reality. "We can build this," she said to herself. "We can actually build this." But as she studied their analysis, she began to see something the Veltari had missed. Their approach was elegant, but inefficient. They were using brute force quantum calculations to maintain their reality manipulations. Humans would do it differently. "Computer, wake up, Dongmin," she said to the lab's AI system. "Dr. So-young?" Dongmin stumbled out of his sleeping bag a few minutes later. "What is wrong?" "Nothing is wrong," she said excitedly. "Everything is right. Look at this." She pulled up the quantum field calculations on the main display. "The Veltari are using continuous active control to maintain their space-time manipulations. Their quantum computers are constantly calculating new field adjustments." "Yes, we documented that yesterday," Dongmin said sleepily. "But what if we did not need continuous control?" So-young asked. "What if we could create self-stabilizing quantum field patterns?" Dongmin was suddenly wide awake. "Self-stabilizing? How?" "Resonance patterns," So-young explained. "Instead of forcing the quantum fields into the shapes we want, we create conditions, where those shapes are the natural equilibrium state." "Like tuning forks?" Dongmin asked. "Exactly like tuning forks. We set up the initial conditions so the quantum fields want to maintain the space-time fold on their own." Dongmin stared at the equations So-young was sketching. "That would be much more energy efficient." "More than efficient," So-young said. "It would be nearly free once the resonance patterns were established." "Wake up the others," Dongmin said. "They need to see this." By morning, the entire team was working on So Young's resonance approach. The mathematics were complex, but human quantum computers were well suited to this type of calculation. I can modify our fusion reactors to generate the initial field patterns, Wu Jin reported. Once we establish resonance, the system should maintain itself. The exotic matter synthesis will be easier too, Nari added. With resonance stabilization, we will not need as much exotic matter to maintain the same effects. How much easier? Captain Boram asked. About 40% less exotic matter required, Nari calculated. And the synthesis process becomes much more stable. Dongmin was redesigning the mechanical components for human manufacturing. We can build this using modified versions of existing human technology. No completely new inventions required. How long? So Young asked. To build a prototype? 3 days, maybe 4. Captain Boram shook her head in amazement. 1 week to understand and improve upon technology that took the Veltari 1,000 years to develop. Humans are good at shortcuts, Wu Jin observed. We are good at finding the simple solution to complex problems, So Young corrected. The Veltari approached this like mathematicians. We approached it like engineers. What do we do with the original device? Nari asked. So Young looked at the disassembled components. We put it back together exactly as we found it. Then we give it back to the Veltari, along with our improved version. Give it back? Dongmin asked. Why? Because, So Young said, with a smile that would have terrified scientist Zeflon if he could have seen it. I want to see their faces when they realize what humans can do. On his hidden ship, Zeflon was becoming concerned. His sensors showed that the humans had completely disassembled the quantum fold device. That should have been impossible. The quantum field locks were designed to prevent exactly that kind of interference. Report, came the demand from the council. The humans have exceeded expectations, Zeflon admitted reluctantly. How exceeded? They have completely disassembled the device and are conducting detailed analysis of each component. Commander Hyunwoo stood in the research lab, staring at 2 identical crystal devices. One was the original Veltari gift, perfectly reassembled. The other was the human-built version, which looked exactly the same from the outside but hummed with a different kind of energy. You built a second one in 3 days? He asked Dr. So Young. We built 3, actually, she replied. 1 for testing, 1 for analysis, and 1 to keep. The testing version worked perfectly on the first try. And it does the same thing as the original. Better, Engineer Dongmin said proudly. 23% more efficient, 40% less exotic matter required, and much safer to operate. Hyunwoo rubbed his temples. Doctor, do you understand what you have done? This technology could change everything. That is the idea, Captain Boram said. Humans have been stuck in our solar system because space is too big and our ships are too slow. This changes that. Have you tested it? Small-scale tests only, So Young admitted. We moved test objects short distances, but the theory is sound. We could travel to other star systems in hours instead of centuries. Technician Wu Jin pulled up display screens showing their test results. Look at these energy readings. Our version uses less power than a nuclear submarine to fold space-time across distances that would take light years to cross normally. How is that possible? Hyunwoo asked. Resonance patterns, materials specialist Nari explained. Instead of forcing quantum fields to do what we want, we convinced them to want what we need. Hyunwoo studied the data for several minutes. As a military commander, he understood the implications immediately. Humanity had just gone from being trapped in one solar system to being capable of interstellar travel. We need to return the original device to the Veltari, he decided. But we say nothing about building our own version. Actually, So Young said carefully, I think we should tell them exactly what we did. Tell them? Hyunwoo looked shocked. Why would we reveal our capabilities? Because hiding this technology would be impossible, Captain Boram explained. We will need to test it on larger scales. We will need to build more devices. They will find out eventually. Besides, So Young added, I am curious to see their reaction. Hyunwoo considered this. You want to shock them? I want to educate them, So Young corrected. The Veltari think humans are primitive. They give us simple gifts and expect us to spend years trying to understand them. Maybe it is time they learned what humans are really capable of. And what if they become hostile? Then we will have the most advanced propulsion technology in the galaxy, Dongmin said. We can outrun any threat. Hyunwoo made his decision. Very well, but I am coming with you to the diplomatic meeting, and we bring a full security escort. Agreed, So Young said, but I think you will find the Veltari are more surprised than threatening. 3 hours later, Commander Hyunwoo, Dr. So Young, and Captain Boram stood in the diplomatic meeting room of Space Station Alpha. The original Veltari device sat in its case on the table, looking exactly as it had when Ambassador Kithara first delivered it. The human-built device sat in a second case beside it. Ambassador, Hyunwoo said, as Kithara entered with her usual escort. Thank you for meeting with us. Of course, Commander, the tall alien replied. I trust your scientists found our gift educational. Very educational, Dr. So Young said. In fact, we learned so much that we wanted to return your gift immediately. Kithara looked puzzled. Return it? Why? Were you unable to determine its function? Oh no, Captain Boram said. We figured out what it does quite quickly. So Young opened the first case. This is your quantum fold warp drive core, completely functional and undamaged. We took it apart to study it, but we put it back together exactly as we found it. The ambassador stared at the device, then at the humans. You took it apart? Component by component, So Young confirmed. 47 separate pieces, each one a marvel of engineering. Your people are truly gifted. But you reassembled it? Kithara asked weakly. Of course, Dongmin said, joining the meeting as planned. We documented everything. We would never damage a gift from our allies. Kithara seemed to be having trouble processing this information. How long did this take you? 6 days total, So Young replied. 3 days to take it apart and understand how it works, 3 days to put it back together and improve upon the design. Improve upon it? So Young opened the second case. This is our version. Same basic function, but 23% more efficient and much safer to operate. The ambassador stared at the human-built device. It looked identical to the original, but her trained eye could see subtle differences in the crystal patterns. You built your own quantum fold drive? She whispered. We built 3, Captain Boram said cheerfully. 1 for testing, 1 for analysis, and 1 to keep. The testing went very well. Testing? Kithara's voice was getting higher. Small-scale demonstrations, Woojin explained, entering the room with a tablet full of data. We moved objects short distances through folded spacetime. Everything worked perfectly. Here are the technical specifications, So Young said, offering the ambassador a datapad. Complete documentation of our improvements. We thought your scientists might be interested in our resonance approach to quantum field stabilization. Kithara took the datapad with trembling hands. She looked at the first few pages and her eyes grew even larger than normal. These equations, she murmured. Are you familiar with resonance theory? So Young asked. We found that self-stabilizing quantum field patterns are much more efficient than active control systems. Self-stabilizing? Kithara repeated faintly. Instead of forcing the fields into the shapes we want, we create conditions where those shapes are naturally stable, Dongmin explained, like tuning forks, but with spacetime itself. The ambassador continued reading the technical documentation. With each page, she seemed to grow paler. You have reduced the exotic matter requirements by 40%, she observed. Actually, 42%, Nari corrected, joining the group. And the manufacturing process is much simpler. We can produce the exotic matter using modified human particle accelerators. Modified how? We added quantum field generators to stabilize the products before they decay. Nari explained. Your people probably use much more complex synthesis methods. Kithara was quiet for a long moment. May May I contact my science advisor? Of course, Commander Hyunwoo said. We have all the time you need. The ambassador stepped aside and activated a communication device. The humans could hear her speaking rapidly in her own language, though they could not understand the words. Her tone sounded increasingly urgent. She seems upset, Dongmin observed quietly. I think surprised is a better word, So-young replied. Few minutes later, Kithara was joined by another Veltari, a tall, thin being with darker blue skin and wearing the robes of a scientist. This is Science Advisor Zeflon, the ambassador said. He has been monitoring your progress. Zeflon stared at the two devices on the table. You disassembled it completely? Yes, So-young said. It was the only way to understand the internal structure. And you built your own version in 3 days? The theory was quite elegant once we understood it, Captain Boram said. Human engineering principles made the construction relatively straightforward. Zeflon picked up the datapad and began reading. His expression grew more shocked with each page. These mathematical approaches, he said finally. We never considered resonance stabilization. Really? So-young asked. It seemed like the obvious solution to us. Continuous active control requires enormous computational power. Resonance patterns are self-maintaining. Your version requires 42% less exotic matter and uses about 60% less energy during operation, Wu Jin added. Zeflon and Kithara exchanged glances. They seemed to be communicating without words. How? Many humans understand this technology now? Zeflon asked carefully. Everyone on our research team, So-young replied. And we have documented everything for training purposes. Training purposes? We plan to build more units, Commander Hyunwoo explained. Human space exploration has been limited by slow propulsion. This technology changes everything. You plan to mass-produce quantum-fold drives? Kithara asked weakly. Eventually, Captain Boram said. We need to do more testing first, but the potential is obvious. Interstellar travel in hours instead of centuries. Hours? Zeflon repeated. According to our calculations, we could reach the nearest star system in about 6 hours, Nari said. The Andromeda galaxy would take perhaps a day. Both Veltari were silent for a very long time. Is something wrong? Dr. So-young asked. We thought you would be pleased that we solved your puzzle so quickly. Pleased, Ambassador Kithara said slowly. Yes, pleased. But she did not look pleased. She looked terrified. We should return to our ship, Zeflon said suddenly. The council needs to be informed immediately. Of course, Commander Hyunwoo said. Thank you for the gift. It has been very educational. Educational, the ambassador repeated. Yes, very educational. After the Veltari left, the human team stood in the meeting room looking at their two devices. They did not seem happy, Dongmin observed. They seemed shocked, So-young corrected. I think they expected us to take much longer to figure this out. How much longer? Captain Boram. The emergency session of the Veltari High Council had been going for 6 hours. Holographic images of council members from across the galaxy flickered around the central chamber, their expressions ranging from disbelief to outright panic. Science. Advisor Zeflon stood at the center of the room, displaying the technical documentation the humans had given him. The equations and diagrams floated in the air like accusations. Let me understand this correctly, said High Counselor Rathmek, her ancient voice carrying across space from the capital world. You gave the humans our most advanced technology as a test, and they not only understood it but improved upon it in 1 week? 6 days and 14 hours to be precise, Zeflon replied miserably. Technology that took our civilization over 1,000 years to develop? Yes, High Counselor. And their improvements are actually functional. Their mathematical approach is not only functional, it is superior to ours, Zeflon admitted. They have solved computational problems that have puzzled our best scientists for centuries. Counselor Vexala's hologram flickered with agitation. How is this possible? Humans have barely discovered quantum mechanics. They have discovered different approaches to quantum mechanics, Zeflon explained. Where we use brute force calculations, they use elegant mathematical shortcuts. Where we require continuous active control, they create self-sustaining systems. Self-sustaining. Quantum fold fields? Asked Counselor Zekthar from the science colonies. That should be impossible. The humans call it resonance theory, Zeflon said, pulling up one of So Young's diagrams. They treat space-time like a musical instrument, creating harmonics that maintain themselves. The council members studied the equations in silence. Finally, High Counselor Rathmek spoke. What are the implications if humans mass-produce this technology? They will have the most advanced propulsion systems in the galaxy, Zeflon said quietly. More advanced than ours, more advanced than the ethereal collectives, more advanced than anyone's. In 1 week, Vexala said, humanity has gone from a solar system-bound species to potentially the most mobile civilization in known space. What do you recommend? The High Counselor asked. Zeflon had been dreading this question. Full technological exchange. Immediate. We need to share everything we know with humanity before they develop even further beyond our understanding. Share everything? Zekthar sounded shocked. Our most guarded secrets? High Counselor, Zeflon said urgently. The humans improved our best technology in less than a week. They did this using only basic quantum theory and engineering principles. We consider primitive. What will they accomplish when they have access to our advanced mathematics? Our physics? Our manufacturing techniques? The silence that followed was long and uncomfortable. They will surpass us completely, Rathmek said finally. They may have already surpassed us, Zeflon replied. We just do not know it yet. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. So Young was leading the first test of a full-scale quantum fold drive system. The prototype had been installed on the research vessel New Horizon, with Captain Bo Ram commanding and engineer Dongmin overseeing the technical aspects. All systems green, Wu Jin reported from the engineering station. Quantum field generators are online and stable. Exotic matter synthesis holding steady, Nari added. Field resonance patterns are maintaining themselves perfectly. Commander. Hyunwoo watched from the command center on Space Station Alpha. New Horizon, you are cleared for first jump test. Understood, Command, Captain Boram replied, initiating quantum fold sequence. The space around New Horizon began to shimmer. Reality seemed to bend and twist as the ship's quantum fold drive created a pocket of altered spacetime. Fold bubble established, Dongmin reported. All readings nominal. Executing jump to Pluto orbital zone, Captain Boram announced. There was a flash of impossible light, and New Horizon disappeared. New Horizon report, Commander Hyunwoo said into his communicator. Command, this is New Horizon, came Boram's voice. Jump successful. We are now in orbit around Pluto. Transit time was 17 seconds. Cheers erupted in the command center. 17 seconds to travel from Earth to Pluto, a journey that normally took conventional ships months. How do the ship systems look? So Young asked. Perfect, Wu Jin reported. No stress on the hull, no crew discomfort. It was like stepping through a door. Quantum field resonance patterns are still stable, Nari added. No sign of field collapse or exotic matter decay. Outstanding, Commander Hyunwoo said. Return to Earth orbit when ready. Already initiating return jump, Captain Boram said. 17 seconds later, New Horizon reappeared near Space Station Alpha. Test successful beyond all expectations, So Young announced. We are ready for interstellar trials. Interstellar? Hyunwoo asked. Are you sure we are ready for that? The mathematics scale perfectly, Dongmin explained. If we can jump to Pluto in 17 seconds, we can reach Alpha Centauri in about 6 hours. And the nearest major star cluster in 2 days, Nari added. The Andromeda Galaxy in perhaps 40 hours, Wu Jin concluded. Commander Hyunwoo stared at the readings from their test. Humanity had just achieved faster-than-light travel that made every other known propulsion system obsolete. Schedule the first interstellar test for tomorrow, he decided, but we go carefully, one system at a time. Understood, sir, Captain Boram replied. Where should we go first? Alpha Centauri, So-Young suggested. Close enough to be safe, far enough to prove the technology works on interstellar scales. As the human team celebrated their success, they did not know they were being watched by more than just the Veltari. Word of humanity's technological breakthrough had spread through the galaxy's intelligence networks with shocking speed. The Ethereal Collective, oldest and most advanced civilization in known space, had been monitoring the situation with growing concern. Their leaders had spent millions of years perfecting technologies that humans had just casually improved upon. High Ethereal Quinthera materialized in the collective's council chamber, her energy form rippling with unease. The reports are confirmed, she announced to the assembled Ethereals. The humans have mastered quantum fold technology and made improvements our scientists never imagined. How significant are these improvements? Asked Elder Malketh. Their drives are more efficient than ours, more stable than ours, and easier to manufacture than ours, Quinthera replied. In 1 week, they have solved problems that have challenged us for eons. What are their intentions? Unknown. But they have begun testing interstellar travel. Their first jump to Alpha Centauri is scheduled for tomorrow. The Council considered this information in silence. The Ethereal Collective had maintained galactic peace for millions of years, partly through their technological supremacy. If humanity had surpassed even their capabilities, initiate contact protocols, Elder Malketh decided. We need to establish relations with humanity immediately. What kind of relations? Quinthera asked. Respectful ones. Very respectful ones. The next day, as New Horizon prepared for its jump to Alpha Centauri, 3 new ships appeared in Earth's solar system. One was a familiar Veltari vessel. The other 2 were completely unknown designs. One seemed to be made of crystallized starlight. The other appeared to be a living creature the size of a small moon. Commander, Lieutenant Ji-Hai reported urgently. We have new contacts. The Veltari ship is transmitting a standard diplomatic approach signal. And the others? Unknown, sir. But their technology signatures are extraordinary. Commander Hyunwoo studied the readings from the unknown ships. Are they hostile? No, sir. They are maintaining respectful distances and transmitting what appear to be peaceful contact protocols. In what languages? Perfect English, sir. Dr. So-Young looked up from her preparations. It seems our little technology demonstration has attracted attention. From whom? Captain Boram asked. Before anyone could answer, the communications system activated. 3 different voices spoke simultaneously, the familiar tones of Ambassador Kithara, and 2 others that sounded like music and wind. Greetings, humanity, they said in unison. We come seeking dialogue. This is Commander Hyunwoo of the Terran Defense Fleet, he replied. You are welcome in our system. What brings you here? We have come to discuss technological cooperation, Ambassador Kithara said carefully. We wish to learn from your innovations, added the musical voice, and to offer our own knowledge in exchange, concluded the wind-like voice. So-Young grinned. They want to trade technology with us. All of them? The Veltari, the Ethereal Collective, and... So-Young checked her xenobiology database. I think the 3rd ship belongs to the Zephyrian consciousness, 3 of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. And they all want to learn from us? Apparently so. Commander Hyunwoo activated the general communication channel. Distinguished visitors, we welcome you to Earth. However, we are scheduled to conduct our first interstellar test flight today. Perhaps we could arrange meetings after we return? Interstellar test? The musical voice asked. Using quantum fold technology? Our improved version, yes, Captain Boram replied from New Horizon. There was a pause. Then all 3 alien voices spoke at once, may we observe? We would be honored to witness this achievement. Your technological development is remarkable. So young,